Dubai, stunned again. Sheikh Hamdan's secret 60-year story finally breaks. Poetry English. Dubai wakes like a pearl trembling in the hands of dawn. A city woven from gold dust and whispered dreams. Yet today the wind carries a strange hush, a silence that leans over rooftops, listening, waiting, as if the desert itself knows that a secret, buried in the heart of a royal soul, is finally rising to the surface. For 60 long years, a story has slept behind the gates of memory, locked behind the calm eyes of a prince, a tale guarded by the moon, hidden in the gentle breath of the desert night. And today, Dubai feels the echo of steps that belong to another time, a time wrapped in the scent of old falcon feathers, and the quiet wisdom of ancestors who walked barefoot on hot sand. Sheikh Hamdan stands at the edge of his thoughts, watching the horizon stretch like an ancient manuscript. Every grain of sand a forgotten word, every dune a chapter waiting to speak. He carries the grace of a man who learned to smile, even when storms tried to bend his spirit. He carries the light of a heart that has known both weight and wonder, a heart shaped not by years, but by the silent strength that only desert winds can teach. The story begins in a small corner of yesterday, a moment nobody noticed, a moment that refused to age. It lived quietly in the memory of a child who watched a 60-year-old figure move like a poem across the quiet world of early morning, a presence older than the sun, yet softer than the shadow of a palm tree, a teacher, a guardian, a soul who existed in the spaces between words, guiding without speaking, loving without claiming, teaching without needing to be seen. Dubai never knew this silent companion, this timeless presence that shaped the young heart of its beloved prince. But the desert remembers. The desert always remembers. It remembers the footsteps of two souls, one young, one weathered by seasons, walking together across the endless canvas of sand. It remembers how the older figure lifted the child, not with arms, but with wisdom, planting strength where fear once lived, planting humility where pride tried to rise, planting courage in the silence between breaths. And Sheikh Hamdan, the boy who would one day carry the dreams of a nation, listened. He listened to the stories carried by the wind, stories of ancestors who rose from dust, stories of honor that never bowed, stories of love that survived the heat of 1,000 suns, stories that shaped him long before the world ever knew his name. Today that story rises again, not as a rumor, not as a shock, but as a truth that belongs to the soul of Dubai. It rises from the quiet corners of his heart, from the gentle memories that age never touched, from the soft echo of footsteps that still whisper through the palace corridors. The 60-year-old presence, who once stood like a lighthouse in a young prince's world, returns in memory. A figure wrapped in the glow of timeless wisdom. A figure who shaped destiny without ever asking for recognition. Dubai. The desert breathes as the tale continues, carrying the scent of old memories across the golden air, whispering through the dunes like an ancient song. A song that held the rhythm of 60 patient years. A song that lived deep inside Sheikh Hamdan's heart, unseen, unbroken, waiting for the day it would rise like a falcon returning to its nest. The people of Dubai feel the shift, a gentle tremble in the spirit of the city, as if the towers of glass, the streets of light, the markets alive with voices, all pause to listen. For this tale is not an ordinary tale. It is the journey of a heart shaped by wisdom older than time. A journey that began under the quiet gaze of a 60-year-old guardian, whose presence wrapped itself around the young prince like a warm cloak. This figure, neither crowned nor celebrated, moved through life like a desert breeze, soft, steady, unbothered by the noise of the world, carrying truths that cannot be taught by books, truth carved by sandstorms and silence, truths that only the patient heart can hold. They walked together, the young heart and the old soul, across courtyards bathed in morning light, across stables where horses breathed stories into the air, across endless dunes where the sky touched the earth. And in those walks, the child who would one day become the symbol of hope for many learned how to see beyond the surface of things, learned how to feel the hidden meanings that live beneath every breath, every gesture, every heartbeat of the land. The 60-year-old guardian taught him about strength, not the strength that roars, but the strength that stands in silence when storms rage. He taught him about kindness, not the kindness that seeks applause, but the kindness that heals quietly in the dark. He taught him about loyalty, not the loyalty shown in words, but the loyalty carved into action, unseen, steadfast, pure. Years passed like drifting sand. Seasons unfolded one after another. Yet the lessons remained, etched into Sheikh Hamdan's spirit, etched into the way he smiles when speaking to a child, etched into the way he touches the mane of a horse, etched into the way he carries himself, soft but unshaken, gentle but unbreakable. Dubai sees the prince, the poet, the leader. But today, for the first time, it sees the child he once was, a child shaped by the presence of someone older, wiser, someone who understood that greatness is not built in a moment, but in countless small moments, moments spent teaching, guiding, loving quietly from the shadows. The guardian lived without glory, yet carried a glory greater than crowns, a glory woven from compassion, patience, and the ability to see the hidden wounds in others and mend them without asking for a single word of gratitude. In the deep silence of the night, when the city sleeps, Sheikh Hamdan still hears the soft echo of that voice, a voice without pride, a voice that spoke truths carved from sand, a voice that shaped the man he became. As this long-hidden story rises, Dubai feels a tenderness that the final chapter opens like a dawn that has waited a lifetime. Soft light stretching across the desert floor, touching every grain of sand with the warmth of remembrance. Dubai stands in quiet wonder, feeling the weight and grace of a story that has slept for 60 years. A story that moves gently now, like an old melody rediscovered in the heart of a traveler returning home. Sheikh Hamdan walks through his memories, each step unfolding a layer of time, revealing the truth of the bond that shaped him, a bond woven not from blood, but from spirit, a connection born from the timeless meeting of youth and age, where a child with eyes full of questions found a guide whose answers lived in silence rather than sound. The 60-year guardian, that weathered soul who once stood beside him, was more than a mentor. More than a shadow in the background, this figure carried the heart of desert wisdom, a heart shaped by the seasons of hardship and hope, a heart that survived storms without bitterness and offered guidance without expectation. It was this quiet soul, this calm presence, who taught Sheikh Hamdan how to read the language of the land, how to hear the music hidden in the wind, how to understand the meaning of footsteps across the sand. It was this presence who showed him how strength is born from gentleness, how courage grows from compassion, how leadership blooms only when watered by humility. Dubai sees the prince on the high towers, riding horses beneath the open sky, writing words that echo across millions of hearts. But today, Dubai learns what shaped that gentle fire, what carved that depth in his gaze, what placed tenderness in his hands even when they carried duty. It was the unseen figure, the elder companion who stood like a silent moon, guiding the tides of a young soul without ever demanding to be known. The story deepens as the memories unfold. They sit together beneath a palm that sways in the ancient breeze. The young boy asking about bravery. The old guardian answering not with lectures, but with the story of a falcon who learned to soar by trusting the wind. They walk together across dunes bathed in gold, speaking about destiny, speaking about honor, speaking about the quiet truths the world often forgets. Years moved like caravans fading into distance, yet the teachings remained. They lived in the way Sheikh Hamdan touches the desert with reverence, in the way he lifts the dreams of others, in the way he carries grief without letting it harden his soul, in the way he loves his people with a depth that echoes through every poem he writes. When the guardian finally left this world, the desert cried a silent tear, for it knew it was losing a keeper of truths, a protector of ancient wisdom. Yet the desert also knew that nothing truly ends. Every lesson spoken in sincerity becomes immortal. Every act of kindness becomes a seed, and Sheikh Hamdan carried those seeds within him, letting them bloom day by day, year by year, until they shaped the leader the world now sees. Now, as the tale rises after,